I can't.
I told you not to do the girl
can't
voice.
figure.
Oh,
Alright,
so offensive.
as promised, I am, well, essentially in drag. Welcome back to Soul Mechanics, people, for the official Halloween celebration special. This needs to be pointed more at you. You're the beautiful one. I am not.
We're doing corner.
Yeah,
tonight.
our costume was totally like. Obviously, I am a drag queen, meth addict prostitute for Halloween, from Cleveland, obviously, and.
You can just say Cleveland prostitute, and that includes all.
Here's my character for Halloween from here on, and we're going to improve on this. We're going to work on my makeup and my design, and give me a better. Like, I've got shoes. We're going to.
They're awful.
They're awful shoes that I had to cut to fit into, but I was gonna give myself pink toenails for you guys, but we'll do that next time. We are going to work on this. We're going to make me a more attractive female every passing year for Halloween, and I am effectively a third-wave feminist social justice warrior.
And tweaker prostitute. All in one package.
Tweaker prostitute, feminist social justice warrior, like hardcore.
I like that you have to you have to make sure it's like hardcore. Yes, you're a Satan worshipping woman.
Worshipping Satan. We're gonna get to that one in the next one, but this video is effectively dedicated to Demi, for obvious reasons.
We love you.
Yeah, you're awesome. She does. It's not because I'm dressed like a lady. It's because
No, we watch her videos all the time.
Yeah, she's notorious for doing her makeup during the videos, which is going to be the preview we gave you. Was Cheeks doing my makeup,
which looks pretty fucking good.
It looks
alright. Myself. I'm not like a huge makeup person, but he's got. Like,
I think it looks kind of cool.
The most hoe ass mascara that I could find.
Mm-hmm. I'm hot.
Yeah, I don't wear it a lot.
I'd have sex with me, for sure. Anyways,
that's the song that we should have put in the intro. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
The Buffalo Bill?
Oh, yeah.
What is it, Silence of the Lambs guy?
Right.
That's such a great song.
I do me.
You
do me.
I do me.
I do me. Look, I got a pink slut
nice
bra. I'm a hottie.
If I learn how to do like the contouring with makeup, I could probably give you cleavage.
I could do the Sharon Stone thing.
That'd be cool. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Don't be showing that shit on YouTube.
Are they gonna fucking shadow ban us?
We'll have to put the blurry splotch.
We are going to be effectively launching 2 investigations in the Deeper Than You Think series. 1 regarding the issues of communities having testified to the effect that their channels, or their community channels in general, are being targeted for demonetization on YouTube, which I think you guys are missing something integral to that.
Shadow banning thing. Yeah, that's a whole thing. I don't even know.
It is, and you guys are all conspiracy theorists, by the way. I mean, that's what you're doing.
Everybody has a little bit.
Anybody check out, I'll put a link to Mr. Atheist, the video he did on this. He actually proved that putting atheist in your tags is going to cause for your videos to be demonetized.
What?
Yeah, I'll show you why. But anyways,
oh my god, that's gotta be like billions of videos.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, that's crazy.
And he's not the only one. Every single community is claiming this. Now, the second investigation we're going to be doing is to searching for the origin. We have Casey on this right now. She's already dug up some great shit. Searching for the origin of the social justice warrior outbreak or pandemic. Particularly this idea of cultural appropriations.
Well, those are 2 very like specific things.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah. Well, it's been requested that we look into these things. So that's what we're going to be investigating. However, this video we're doing is a response to Rachel Oates, which, if anybody recalls, has been keeping up with the channel. Rachel Oates was the second, after hacking the headlines, the second Reality Checks video we did. The third Reality Checks video we did, I believe, was reacting to Demi's response video to Rachel Oates, titled "Rachel Oates is a Poopyhead."
Oh, is that?
So we'll give you links to all of this shit.
Any video with the name Poopyhead in the title. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch it.
Anyways, very happy Halloween to all of you. Again, this is our official Halloween special.
Blessed Samhain.
Blessed Samhain. This is belated. Sorry we missed it. But I was poisoned, and I don't know what she was doing. Probably masturbating somewhere.
It's like every day. I can't stop. No, that weather was really bad, and my kid is sick, so we were just. stuck inside, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It was not fun. But I did buy a giant bag of candy and then eat most of it. So.
Alright, let's get this started.
What's
Now, we are
Halloween all
responding
about?
to one of Rachel Oates' Halloween videos.
I think this is new, yeah.
Wherein she is doing makeup, herself doing makeup. So, there you go. Ties it all in together.
Well,
Synchronicity.
I watched this for a couple minutes while you were getting ready, and she's doing like a zombie makeup thing, which is really cool. And she does this cool trick with the toilet paper. Did you see this?
Yeah.
To make like the wounds and like peely looking skin, which I thought was so cool.
Yeah,
and then she should put like color over it, maybe. I don't know.
We're gonna find out, but
looks really cool.
She is, from what we can tell, she is debunking paranormal experiences. Now, Rachel, if you actually happen to watch this, which of course you'll get the link. Everybody gets the links, but Rachel, if you do watch this, I warned you, man. I'm sorry, but I told you can't go around just stating that you're debunking things.
The description's pretty funny. Halloween, zombie makeup. While we discuss some totally legit creepy paranormal stories and what might have really been happening. So yeah, a bit of a skeptic on the paranormal stuff she is.
Yeah, really.
Which is cool. I get it.
I mean, skeptical is going to be investigating with, a clear head and logical attitude, whereas we're gonna, let's open it up. We'll show what she says. Go ahead and show our audience this young lady.
Oh, I turned it down.
We're gonna get a little bit creepy. I have been asked to do zombie makeup for a friend for a party we're going to this weekend, so I figured I would test out a zombie makeup look on myself before I do it on her, because I've never done makeup on anyone else before. I'm very nervous about it, and I figured I would share this process with you, so you can kind of see what you think, see what I'm doing. And while we're doing this makeup look, we're going to be reading some creepy paranormal stories from Reddit. I know I'm usually quite skeptical about this kind of stuff, and that's why I figured today it would be quite fun if we read some of these stories, and then we can have a discussion about what we think it actually was, some reasonable explanations for that kind of stuff. But also, it's going to be a little bit of fun because, Halloween.
So.
Oh my god, it worked! Your finger.
Yeah, my fingers are dope.
So you're not a robot.
I am, though. I'm learning how to pretend to be human better.
I was just learning to love.
So,
Michael Scott.
The first thing right there, she's going to be talking about
reasonable
explanations, because anything that she considers, or the atheist community in general considers to be supernatural, is absolutely not a reasonable explanation.
Like ghosts and paranormal stuff is part of the whole rejection.
Yeah,
it's any kind of spirituality. Well, I guess that would make sense, because a ghost, you have to die and then continue existing.
Right, and
so that makes sense.
It's
okay.
in their mind supernatural, but I mean, were there to be such a thing as a ghost existing beyond the mortality of the
it would
biological body, the physiological body, it would be perfectly natural, wouldn't it? Anything that happens in the natural world is natural. There's no such thing as supernatural.
Yeah.
So, but they're gonna debunk anything that they see as being supernatural. It's perfectly unreasonable, just incredible. It's you can't even fathom it. It's entirely unreasonable to consider that any of these supernatural instances could be possible.
There's some pretty whack stories I've heard too about not just people seeing ghosts, but on the other hand, there's this radio show that I listen to. This chick, she's god awful stupid, and they're always making fun of her because she is religious, and also thinks that there's just killer ghosts everywhere, and I can't, I'm scared to walk out of my apartment in the middle of the night because what if there's a ghost trying to get me, or my cat was looking up at the door. And so I thought there was a ghost there, she wouldn't touch the Ouija board, they brought in a Ouija board for Halloween, and she wouldn't even touch it. It was jumping away, I'm not gonna do that. The evil spirits are gonna get me.
Coast to coast, how what's his name, George is afraid of the Ouija board.
I mean, yeah, but it's one thing to say I'd rather not play with it, but she wouldn't even she could not even make bodily contact with it because the evil spirits would just start flying around and murder her and everyone else. It was such a weird thing. She sounds like a adult when she talks about this shit because she's just completely there couldn't be a ghost that's not gonna murder anyone. Like it's so crazy.
I don't know what to say about the Ouija board. Honestly, I've never used one.
I've heard some fucked up stories about Ouija boards, dude.
I've heard some stories, but
I mean, I don't know if they're true.
As an actual divination tool, I'm not so sure about that. Although it's a workable idea. But other divination practices like tarot cards and whatnot, they're perfectly reasonable. They fall in line with magnetic compatibility.
Dead people pulling cards, you know what I mean?
No, but it's the same principle in play, though.
I mean, if you really get down
to the science of it, it's going to be some unseen, unknown energies that work magnetic compatibility causing for something.
I get it, so. But it's just.
I mean, it's a workable idea. It could work.
I don't know, man.
Asking specific spirits and shit, though. See, I've had experiences that I do believe I've seen what are kind of like spirits. Like, I've experienced them in the extremity deprivation. I'll put a link to that to the Ghost Stories video, where I did, in fact, experience what I thought were some kind of spirits, but I don't think they were spirits in the traditional sense that they're like ghosts of the person. I don't know what they are, but I don't believe that people have ghosts that inhabit, like haunts of place. I don't think that happens.
It's like loose memory information.
That's what I originally thought, initially, that it was just memory recorded in the environment.
Who was it was such a long time ago. The experiment, I think it was in the, I can't remember the book, I don't know. Anyway, the thing where the DNA, or not the DNA, but like the presence and the photons of a person's being like linger where they had been sitting for a certain period of time, 30 minutes or whatever it was.
We know
the source field investigation.
We know that objects
that they did a little chapter on that.
Objects in general record memory.
Right.
They store information.
That's kind of always what
like there's a resounding reflection that is embedded in the environment.
Because it's not just empty space. We're not just floating around in empty space.
Right, and
we're swimming through a sea of molecules.
That's what the empty space, what we see as being empty space, is just shit we're unable to detect yet.
Exactly.
They call it dark matter, but what they mean to say is that there's nothing there. In their eyes, they can't see anything there.
Exactly.
But they know that something has to be there because
it
it's
reacts
affecting the rest of the world.
to other things. Exactly. So
yeah, that's...
They can, the scientists can do experiments and stuff and see the connections and the reactions and actions that are happening between things that we can't see.
Right.
They can just see the effect.
In the, as I stated in the initial video, the response video I did for Rachel on the chakra shit, it's gravity. We don't yet have utensils that can detect gravity.
Chakra? She doesn't believe in chakra?
She was making fun of it, like she thought she was like expert. She had some kind of expertise. She was saying
it's detectable energy vortexes. It's like that's 1,000-year-old Chinese medicine. The meridians.
The chakras are organs. They're primary nerve clusters in your body. They're detectable organisms, or they're detectable organs. They exist. They're biological structures in your body. They're physical. You can touch them. You can do a fucking X-ray. They're right there in front of you. There's no contesting it. Chakras are there. The meridians are there. The meridians are the nervous system.
Yeah, it's like a, I don't know, like the rivers of energy is how like old Chinese monks described it.
And that's what they felt. That's what they would have felt when they're working with it.
Yeah,
they feel it flowing.
Which is, by the way, exactly what your endocrine system, your lymphatic system, there's all these pathways of things that are flowing through energy types, just a different type of that, I think.
But to clear this up for anybody that doesn't get it, when they used to talk about shit like prana, or chi, or jing, when they said life energy, they're talking about electricity.
Pretty much.
They didn't have that word for it then. It's electricity, it's electromagnetism, and it's gravity.
Yeah.
It's just gravity itself is undetectable as it stands, but that's going to be where the dark matter comes into play. There are forces at work there that we just can't see yet.
That's kind of what I always chalked it up to be, is we can't see it.
And I mean, we know that our observation has a direct effect upon the the presentation of reality as it stands. Our observation affects the very particles in play directly. We have an influence upon reality. So
just by being there,
just by being here, and our information, our memory is embedded in the environment. That especially like crystals store memory very, very readily, and that's why crystals are so held in high regard by witches and such.
That one
magic
book,
practitioners.
Sanctuary. I think I have a copy of around it somewhere, where the guy had the crystal key fob, and it was actually a storage device for files that he was keeping secret.
That's cool.
That was information. It got him killed. Like it was some kind of sensitive information. And
Is it a true story?
I don't think so. It's just it's a novel or whatever, but very interesting. And the files or whatever information, data he was trying to keep secret, he stored on this like crystal key fob because the I don't know if I'm going to say this right. The organization of the insides of the crystals themselves, is it molecules? They organize themselves. Yeah, they organize themselves in like a symmetrical way.
Yeah,
that's kind of like how a computer stores data is kind of similar to. And it was just when they explained it in the book, it was so fascinating.
The more that I'm just gonna go behind my this big stupid dreadlock. I have dreadlock. I'm culturally appropriating right now with dreadlocks, but that's okay because I'm an SJW.
You're allowed to have dreadlocks. It's all good.
But yes, correct. Let's continue.
The crystals, right? They're cool. I dig it. They remember shit.
They remember. That's the thing that, like with the water experiments with Emoto, where the water reacted.
Again,
that proves that water is remembering. It's intelligent. Water knows what you're projecting towards it.
For sure.
Plants,
and it organizes itself in a symmetrical way.
By the way, to get deeper into the investigation, there we know that plants communicate and that plants know what we're intending.
Who's the guy?
The
Baxter Effect.
Baxter Effect.
Baxter Effect. Google it. Baxter Effect.
We'll put links to all of this shit, but
if you know what you're feeling.
Yeah, if you happen to watch this and there's no links in the description, it's because I have to go and get that shit together afterwards. So I mean, check back in if you guys anybody happens to watch this when it immediately airs. Then I do have to get the links in there later on, but we'll get you all the links for all of this shit.
You could Google it. It's the Baxter Effect.
It's cool. The Backster Effect has proven that plants react to your intention. They don't necessarily react to your thoughts or your actions, but your intentions. And this lines up with what the Emoto Experiment showed about water remembering your intent. Mm-hmm. So, it could very well be the water in the plant.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
It could be the water in us that gives us intelligence.
We're 75% water?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Reasonable justifications for totally legit creepy paranormal stuff.
And spooky season and all that kind of thing. Let's jump into it.
Science fanatic. That's probably why.
Alright, so for these stories, I was browsing the subreddit r/creepyask Reddit, which is an amazing little collection of threads from just Ask Reddit, but all with like creepy, scary undertones.
I'm gonna go to this Reddit
page. So in this thread, I found some
I'm
pretty cool kind of like paranormal type stories that I thought we could have a look at.
They have videos that just tell the stories.
My friend had a roommate that collects antiques. Her roommate bought an old music box from a second-hand store, and there was definitely something attached to it. My friend's roommate started getting sleep paralysis almost every single night. My friend kept waking up with scratches on her face and body. I was in her room one day, about a week after all this stuff had started, and I watched multiple things get flung off their bookcase. It wasn't like the items just fell. Each item had an arc to it as it fell, like something had smacked the items or pushed them off. When we got close to the bookcase, we realized everything that had been flung off the shelf had been on the same shelf as that damn music box. Every other shelf was untouched. We returned the music box the next day. And then later on in that thread, they clarified that the sleep paralysis and scratching completely stopped. It's been over a year since, and nothing else has happened to them. So they returned the music box, it stopped. They bought the music box, that's when it started. I know this sounds creepy. It may just be a case of humans looking for patterns in things, connecting things. There's a chance something else happened which like triggered the sleep paralysis, which is a terrifying thing. I don't know if you guys have ever gone through it. It is horrible and I hate it. It's not happened to me very often, but the few times it has, it is traumatic. The scratch.
So she believes in sleep paralysis, but ghosts are too crazy?
Well, sleep paralysis is a perfectly natural phenomenon. Now, ghosts...
It's creepy. That's never happened to me.
I'd like to ask Rachel, though, if she watches this, what did you experience during your sleep paralysis?
Well,
Because that's something we've been investigating for a while. We really want to get down on that.
A lot of people say that it's not only the paralysis part, but that there's a second kind of thing to it that seems to be consistent over multiple cases of this, that there's an entity
the hag
in the room.
Now people talk about
sometimes it's holding you down, sometimes it's just there, sometimes it's an old hag, sometimes it's just a random figure, but there's many times the paralysis plus another entity.
Right, and when I had sleep paralysis, what I experienced was somebody was standing on my bed, and they stepped off of the bed, then they stepped back onto the bed, and I could feel the bed depressing, but I couldn't move, and they kept continuously stepping on and off like they were making a decision as to whether they were coming or going, I guess. I don't know, that's what it felt like to me. And then it looked like out of the corner of my eye I saw like a light, like a ball of light almost, kind of come in through the window and roll up over the ceiling towards me, and when it got to me I snapped to. And that was my experience, and I have theories as to what had happened there that I've actually written about before. I wrote in the book that I gave you, the Formula 13, which we lost. We lost my entire thesis. We lost my book, so we're going to have to work on it again. Well, you had a copy, didn't you? Or did I take it from you?
Yes.
I gave it to Kay, which, by the way, for Kay, congratulations. She had a beautiful baby, Crystal Rose.
Cute-ass baby.
Awesome name. Bitchin'. Happy Halloween, lady. I'm very, very happy for you. Hope to see you again soon. I will not be in drag when we meet. I promise.
Don't let him touch your baby. Anyways, so I thought it was interesting. I watched a few minutes of this earlier that she believes in sleep paralysis, which usually falls under the category of like creepy paranormal stuff.
Yeah, but it's
because of the stories associated with it.
Sleep paralysis is perfectly understandable. It's a glitch in the brain where your body you essentially wake up while your body's still paralyzed, which, by the way, that's the trick to getting into what they call astral projection. I don't like to use the term out-of-body experiences because that doesn't technically make sense. You're never out of a body, but you can project your phantom body. Like everybody, just to catch up, anybody, atheists aren't watching our channel, I'm sure. If you lose a limb, often you have phantom pains, you have phantom sensations, you have a phantom limb. That's because you do in fact have a phantom body, which Rupert Sheldrake would go ahead and describe as being what he calls morphogenic fields. Ooh, so we'll give links to that too. We'll give you guys sources for all of this. We will cite our inferences or references.
Alright, so it seems like she's telling that she has had this experience before.
Scratches on the face and body, that again is another terrifying thing to wake up to, but it's something that we can do in our sleep, something that happens. It might have been something like something scratchy in the bed sheet. She might have done it herself with her nails. There are reasonable explanations for this kind of stuff. The stuff being flung off the bookcase, though, is a little bit weirder. It could have been, I don't know, anything to do with like a minor earthquake, or I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts on that bit are, because that's the bit that I don't quite have an obvious explanation for. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think maybe caused
no reasonable explanation for.
Do you think this is just a case of someone having sleep paralysis and kind of like trying to find a pattern, trying to find a cause, with it being like, ooh, it was the music box? Let me know down in the comments what you think of this was. For our next story, we're getting a little bit more sci-fi.
Okay, I'll let you know right here what I think.
The stuff that's flying off the shelf. I've heard that many times with people talking about like Ouija boards. We brought up the Ouija board earlier.
I've seen stuff fly out of my cupboards and get thrown, like Tupperware containers have flown out of my cupboards and get thrown at Piper, my cat.
What?
Yeah, things throw the ghost in my apartment. I don't know what's going on in my apartment, but they in the kitchen they throw things at Piper all the time, like off of the top of the refrigerator, out of the cupboards.
God.
It happens. I talk to him. I'm like, good job.
Oh,
Get
God,
that
that's
fucking bastard,
terrifying.
Piper.
I can't
But-
even deal with that. That would fucking
But no,
freak
I
me
have a
out.
question for you on this matter. Do you believe that, people have been talking about ghosts and what they call supernatural, where you just paranormal, natural forces at work that can move objects around and that might be attached to certain objects? This is what we call hauntings or whatever. People have been talking about this for ages and ages and ages, telling these stories over and over again. So do you think that on this occasion, it's more reasonable to assume that there was something scratchy enough in her bed sheets to scratch her body up remarkably, coupled
It's
with an earthquake that just happened to transpire at that time, and then
and
her
only
brain
affected
looking for
a few
patterns?
things. I don't know. See, that's what I think.
You think
though,
that's a more reasonable
that
explanation?
with people trying to kind of balance this out? It's like it's 12 of something, 6 of something, half a dozen of the other. Like it's which one is more believable, and you just kind of have to pick whichever one you want.
I think it's
guess.
certainly more reasonable to presume that there might be some force at work here, considering that these are consistently lining up, and it could very well be synchronicity. Now, let's say, for example, your reasonable explanation is that an earthquake just happened to transpire that threw books off the bookshelf that was sitting next to this music box that they had already thought was haunted in some way, which caused sleep paralysis, or may not have caused sleep paralysis. But then her brain's just looking for patterns, which you pretty much just go ahead and vaguely speculate here that it's the human brain.
Well, no.
Parabolia, really, is her explanation is
It's a thing.
parabolia.
Yeah, it's a thing. We look for faces in patterns, and patterns. I mean, that's
Yeah, but this is a pretty heavy
that's how
pattern to be working with.
That's how they describe the whole face on Mars phenomenon. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard that, but the face on Mars. It's
Well,
like,
we know what happened there.
like these
Dr. Manhattan
mountains.
made the face on Mars.
Of course. That there's like mountains or whatever and valleys, and it just seems to kind of make this like face, except it's super creepy. It's a fucking face for sure, but the way that they explain it away is to say that the human brain looks for faces in patterns, which I think technically is true. So it's it's part.
Yeah, no, parabolia is
part of
for
it,
sure.
yeah.
It's an instance. And I cut it, so it's all like raggedy.
You're not allowed to make any more outfits.
I tried
So
I
gross.
tried to shave my legs, but I was like in a hurry, so I didn't do it well. So sorry, crotch shot. Anyways,
I'm picking out the dress next time because that's awful.
yeah, she's gonna help make this. We were in haste here, and everything got fucked up. We're gonna do it better next time. So, like the video because it's fucking crazy.
Hey!
Subscribe
Like that
to the
shit.
channel so that when we get around to next Halloween, you'll be here with us to see how much better I look
gonna
as
be
my
so hot.
my sexy third wave feminist social justice
What's your-
warrior meth addict
What's your
hooker
hooker tweaker name?
Tanner Fenton.
All right, whatever. Anyways,
I've always been Tanner Fenton.
next story.
Fight, and we're talking aliens and UFOs.
Heyo!
I was sitting in a field with two friends, stargazing after a smoke session, something we would do regularly, when we noticed a bright white glowing orb in the sky. Best way to describe the size is if you take a dime, hold it at arm's length away from you. It was flying in a curved pattern at a decent rate of speed. While we tried guessing what it could be, it made a 90-degree turn and flew over the horizon at an incredible speed. It did this almost immediately after we'd all seen it and pointed it out, trying to follow it with our fingers. Still have no clue what it could be. As far as my friends and I know, there aren't any aircrafts capable of such things. Should add, this was back in 2006 or 7, but seems how 3 people witnessed the same thing, we were convinced it was a UFO. So UFOs are one of these things where there's always plenty of possible explanations for it. It's not necessarily like aliens and a spaceship and that kind of thing. So for this, it does make it a little bit more unusual because the fact that it can just do a 90-degree turn, the fact that it was moving so quickly, means it's probably not something like a hot air balloon, which can look a little bit funny from a distance, but that's more likely to move slower. It's not going to do those turns like that, unless of course it got like caught up in the wind or something. So I guess that's an option. The fact that it's round as well is pretty unusual. I guess it could have been something like a helicopter and it just looked a bit distorted from a distance or through some clouds, something like that. Another possible option could be that it was like a drone or something. I know it's a little bit early, back in 2006 or 7 for something like that, but again, it's possible. Other options are just that it was some kind of like flying animal or bird or something like that.
What kind of a flying animal?
Kind of airplane.
So,
what are you talking about, man?
First of all, I love the cool zombie makeup.
Yeah, you're really good with that makeup. This bitch, and keep at it, lady. You're doing a good job there. That's
also, I have to say, I'm kind of on board with her a little bit. I think people take the UFO thing a little bit too far. I have definitely heard some crazy accounts of shit that definitely is not possible with the technology that we have today. But it stands for unidentified flying object.
Right.
It doesn't stand for alien spaceship. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's like aliens flying. It's just something that that you personally have never identified before, and now you're seeing it flying around. It's so disgusting. I'm trying to make a point here, and you're being a whore.
I'm flexible.
You're being a whore.
I'm letting the audience know I'm flexible.
He's such a slut. So I kind of, I'm on board with her a little bit about that, is that it doesn't...
Yeah, well, it's an unidentified flying object, period.
That's
it's
pretty
a UFO.
simple,
It's unidentified, it's a flying object.
Exactly. It's pretty simple. There's probably secret spacecraft that the public doesn't know about.
First thing, it is a UFO.
Duh.
It is a UFO, duh. Second, I mean, it's not in any way unreasonable to consider this. Again, people have been talking about this for ages and ages and ages, going back all the way through history. We have stories of people coming from the stars. I mean, how can you discount that? Yeah, look at this. Look. She's considering this as being an eyewitness testimony. she's acknowledging.
I think that's a little crazy.
She's acknowledging that it's an eyewitness testimony. She's acknowledging the witness testimony as being valid. That she's saying this person, what they said, they actually saw it.
And then
so how are you going to go ahead
brainstorming other possibilities for
as to what they saw? But she's acknowledging that you're acknowledging that they saw it. So now go back through history and look at all the eyewitness accounts of people with spaceships, of people coming from other planets, or what have you, coming from outer space. I mean, these stories are all over the place. The Hindu Rig Vedas, the fucking Bible tells this story. Everybody tells it, and I know you don't want to believe anything that's in the Bible, but why the fuck not? I mean, the Bible is a collection of earlier stories. Obviously, we know that it didn't transpire in the way that they said it did in the time that they said it did, but it's very likely to have transpired at some point, because these are collections of stories from older traditions.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean it's an inspired word of God. It means somebody wrote it.
Somebody wrote this story. No, it's not the... I mean, technically you could say anything's the inspired word of God. It's the idea, personally, as being what I consider a true theist here. My consideration of what God is your connection to the living world is alive. We know the world is alive. We know that plants are alive, we know that nature is living, we know that water has memory, we know there's intelligence, and we know that there is a design in play. So you have consciousness. We know that consciousness exists. We know that it has a direct influence upon the nature and the substance and function of reality as we know it. So my consideration of what God is, what I'm saying is a true theist perspective, is your relationship to it. Because again, if you traverse the outer edges of the psyche or the depths of the human psyche, you're going to find that the only thing that is truly fundamentally real is relationships, associations. The relationships that you have to others, and the relationships that you have within yourself, to the sub-personalities that make up your person. Those associations are the only real thing. So the only real God is your connection to nature, which is everything. Everything is natural. There's no such thing as supernatural. Now,
I like that. That's a pretty way of putting it.
That's my idea of what God is not necessarily your consciousness influencing reality, nor is it the system of physics in play behind the reality. It's the relationship between the two.
I think there's a little bit of a touch of a collective consciousness thing happening in that equation also. I mean, I don't know for sure.
It
but
is the collective. Like I've said about the gender situation, you are what you present yourself as being. You know, if you're a guy, and if you have a male body and you feel like a girl and you think you're a girl, you feel like a girl, that doesn't make you a girl until you go ahead and make that transition and present as a girl. But when you do present as a female, that's what you are. That's what you're being in reality, because that's what your reflection is showing. That's what's being seen. So what happens in reality is the reality. Thereby, that collective consciousness in play, the decisions that are made, the behaviors that are presented, that's what God is.
Leave your house and see everything around you and other people and say, well, that's not real. Like, I mean, I guess you could to a certain extent, but then you'd probably be suffering from schizophrenia, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get there. So spotters along this route and the wayless road, you'll get to a point where you look around and you say this.
No, don't get me wrong.
To a point where it's like the whole world is alien to you.
I am a proponent of I suppose it could be a theory, that you can't necessarily trust your senses. That everything that's real, and that's such a weird word and I don't like it, but for lack of a better word, things that are real, reality, is coming through your senses, and we've already proven that your brain cannot tell the difference between a memory of something and something actually happening. So you can't necessarily trust your... I hate that it's boiled down. We have much more than 5 senses. There's probably thousands, and like I was talking about haptic
feedback.
Haptic
feedback.
No, it's called something else when you're talking about a person. I don't know. Anyway, you can't trust your senses. And even if you could, there's way more than 5 of them, so you couldn't keep track of all of them anyways.
To make a point of fact in that direction, you have 6 senses flat out, because we do have a sense of humor. And that sense of humor dictates our tolerance, our level of acceptability and acceptance. Your sense of humor is bigger than what you think is funny or not. It dictates your very sense of tolerance and being, and that is one of the most prescient senses you have.
It's part of your character, absolutely.
Yeah, it does. So there's a 6th sense right there. Now, what you're saying, to nail this one in place, the brain cannot tell the difference between what is imagined as happening and what is actually happening. Now, what would that imply? The brain knows. The brain knows what's real. It's designed to do that. That's its primary function. The brain is not mistaken about what is real, yet it's telling you that it doesn't register any difference between what you imagine and what you see.
It's a crazy, crazy fact.
What does that imply?
And the eyeball thing, how eyeballs work, that's another thing that frickin' just is absolutely befuddling how it works. And look at an anatomy book or something, because I remember when I was in an anatomy class, just that whole thing, the object itself, the way that it communicates with the brain back and forth in this weird feedback upside down loop thing, that, you know, I would venture to say that you probably can't trust your sense of sight if you're talking about the way that it communicates with your brain and tells you what's going on. It's so weird. But yeah, they did MRIs on people and different things and proved, I'll have to look up that experiment, but proved that your brain doesn't know. So you can't trust your senses. So we don't really know what's real or not. We're getting all of this information through a bubble of
you
filters,
exist in the brain.
basically.
You're not experiencing anything outside, really. There's nothing out there. You're experiencing in the brain. So, I mean, ultimately, there's no way for you to, in any way, validate.
Just, like, step out of that.
You can't prove anything is real.
Think or feel without your own brain. Like, you can't do that.
So how do you prove that you're real?
Maybe you can't. I don't know. Those Tibetan monks can do some pretty crazy fucking shit.
Yeah, they can.
So maybe you can step out of your brain, so to speak, and experience and feel and think things
Technically,
from outside your
people,
bubble.
people
filters.
can do projections, and I've done this too. I've done projections. I know that it's real.
I never thought about that, but yeah.
And again, I mean, if you need a sight of sores, I'm telling you, I have experienced it firsthand, repeatedly. It is a repeatable experiment that you too can do. I'll give you a link to some fucking, something pointers on that.
Well, just a few minutes ago, you were talking about, astral projection.
Right. It can be done. It is real. However, you're still registering through the brain. You're still processing the memory through the brain. So it's all happening in the brain, regardless. And you do this all the time. You do traverse these worlds. You leave, in a manner of speaking, you leave this body for the most part. And you traverse these worlds, even in such cases as having dreams. You do this, and it's just a matter of whether your brain registers the memory, and what is going to determine how well or how effectively or efficiently your brain is managing and processing this memory, giving you the feedback on it, is going to be your belief system, what you believe is possible, what you tell your brain it's allowed to do.
Yeah,
you are the director. You are the owner.
Everything, absolutely. That's a very powerful thing.
And again, that's your psychological considerations is what's going to cause for the blockages in the chakra system, the nervous system. You are in control of your brain. Nobody else is controlling your brain unless you allow for them to. And most of you guys, you're allowing for them to. You're allowing for some belief system, which atheism, again, is a belief system. We're going to touch on this one in another video.
Yeah.
But yes, atheism is a belief system. You are believing
in a specific thing.
Yeah, you're believing that
situation
you
or
are
circumstances.
You are not believing in the existence of a thing. You are believing in the non-existence of a thing.
Exactly.
Due to lack of evidence.
Not the opposite of belief is knowing
is
certainly what something is.
There is no certainty. You believe in everything. You believe the laws of physics are functioning. You have faith that they're going to continue functioning as they do. When you make use of science, you're putting a belief system into play. You are believing in this experimental process and the results of it. And
yes, it can be repeated, and yes, you can form hypotheses and test them. All the science stuff is absolutely true. All that's actually real. And some of it's very provable, which no matter if it's provable or not, when you throw something up in the air, you believe that it's going to come back down. Yeah. That's a belief.
And in a manner of speaking, you can be certain of certain factors like this. You can be certain that the object's going to come back down, but that doesn't mean... if you are not certain, if you do not have evidence of an existing force in play, whatever it may be, a paranormal force,
or you believe that it doesn't.
Right. Yeah. You're either certain of its existence, or you believe one way or the other. You believe in its existence, or you believe that it doesn't exist. You're still believing. You cannot not believe unless you have absolute certainty, which you don't.
Those are the two choices.
And you're lying. You're lying to yourself if you tell yourself you do. And simply for the purpose of refuting religion, a single religion that besmirched you, one single religion.
All right. This is not. No, we're not. This is a different subject matter.
All right, fine.
All right. I want to see cool zombie.
Sorry, I get mad at them.
Okay, just call them your tits there, tweaker.
I'm not sure. Let me know again down in the comments what you think this could be. I'm not in any way any kind of expert on things like planes or helicopters or stuff, so I don't really know enough about what moves at what speeds and what kind of turning capabilities certain things have. So
I think you could just kind of X that one off.
But if you have any ideas, drop
maybe
me a
it's
comment
a bird.
down below.
I don't know about that. Birds don't glow.
Or if you're convinced this was definitely aliens, let me know that as well.
Oh, also, by the way, I've seen, there's a dude who worked with the MUFON in California, Steve something, and he coined the term strange attractors. He was talking about certain people that seem to attract this kind of activity. Now,
well, look at Stephen Greer does those retreats where he gets people meditating together in a big group to call to call whatever it is to happen, and then they film it and they see fucking all kinds of shit.
Now, when Kay and I would go down to the lake and train during the day, we'd sit there and watch the sunset. At the end of the day, at night, we'd sit on by the lake and watch the sunset. And we would see shit whenever I was with her. Not when I was alone or with other people, but whenever she was there, we would see lights over the lake, all over the place. Like, lights just zipping around, doing crazy shit over the lake. And it's like, I'm going to go ahead and very heavily doubt that it was just, you know,
a bird.
Every time that we were there, it was a
glowing
bunch
bird,
of glowing
yeah.
birds, or it was just a bunch of
that's a good
airplanes
one.
decided to come that all started pulling off tricky maneuvers. Like, it's...
That aren't possible. I saw a UFO one time in my entire life, and I was in, let's see, if we moved out of that house when I was in high school, I was in maybe 6th grade, maybe 5th grade, and I had a 3rd floor bedroom. We had a finished attic with 2 bedrooms up there, and my bed was right by the window facing, I think it was west. And there's houses everywhere. It's a residential, kind of suburban-y area. And so I've got the top floor. I'm up late at night. I couldn't sleep or whatever, and I was just looking out the window, kind of laying in my bed or whatever, and I see the tops of all the houses in the neighborhood, right? I see this light, which starts coming from the left part of the window. It was pretty low, and I was like, oh, there's an airplane, and then it just went 90 degrees, just boom, and then down, and that was it. And I was like, what the F is that? Like, airplanes do not do that.
It could have been a drone, but still, it's a UFO regardless.
So, if I was in 6th grade...
Oh, that would have been before. Yeah,
that was such a long time ago. Maybe there was, like, a certain iteration of a very early drone. I mean, that's absolutely possible. It was bright enough that I thought it was an airplane. It was extremely bright, and it just came perfectly straight from the left side of the window, and then down, like 90 degrees. It was the craziest thing I ever saw, and to this day, I'm like, what the hell was that? Like, that was crazy. But that was the one and only time I've ever seen, like, flying lights in the sky or a UFO type of situation.
And these UFOs, they could absolutely be, you know, manned aircraft that we have just, you know, fucking
I think
space-age
unidentified
aircraft.
is just referring to, like, your own personal, like, if some top secret clearance, you know, FBI guy had knowledge of a bunch of crazy, like, secret thing, then obviously it would be identifiable to him personally.
Yeah,
like,
it's not unidentifiable flying object, it's
unidentified to your personal, you know, knowledge. It's unidentified. So it was definitely unidentified, and it scared the shit out of me. It was crazy. Oh, man.
Alright, so conclusion on that one, and don't think it's a glowing bird.
Yeah, probably not, but
Just
it could
bad.
be any number of things, absolutely. And she's getting more
Because to me, there's
zombified.
nothing scarier than, like, kids doing creepy stuff, kids' toys doing creepy stuff, creepy kids in general, just bleh.
Black-eyed
It scares me. So this next one, I actually think if this happened to me, I would freak out. And I know there's no reasonable explanation. I know, you know, it's not a ghost or whatever, but I still think if this happened to me, yeah, I'd be freaked out because I'm a huge chicken. When I was about 16 or 17, my sister and my nephew, about 2 years old, moved in with my parents. He had this toy ball that was shaped like a soccer ball. On each side it had a picture of a nursery rhyme, and when you rolled it, whichever nursery rhyme was on top, the ball would sing or play that song. One of the songs, Itsy Bitsy Spider, had a creepy girl voice singing.
Cool.
Everything about that song got under my skin. The creepy voice, the weird background music. Out of all the songs it sang, Itsy Bitsy Spider was the one that bothered me the most. Okay, so one day, after school, I'm at home, doing my normal chores, mostly cleaning the house, laundry, etc. When I hear one of the bedroom doors slam, I go to investigate and find that it's my own bedroom door. Okay, no biggie. I open the door and head back down to the living room to finish cleaning. So I go back to put my things away. I see the ball and check to see if it's on. It is. So I switch it off, set it down in the toy basket again, go back to doing my chores. A few minutes later, hear another door slam. I don't want to, but I go back down the hallway to investigate. And yeah, you guessed it. My bedroom door is closed again. At this point, I'm slightly creeped out. I've had other things happen in the house, lights flickering, things being out of place, but never doors slamming. So I go to open my bedroom door. The second I put my hand on the doorknob, I hear itsy bitsy spider coming from the living room.
Yeah.
I freeze. Every
she's doing
hair
green
of my body
lipstick,
stands up
it's so
straight.
cool.
Now I am totally freaked out and back away from the door. As I turn and start walking backwards towards the living room, I hear a giggle behind me, coming from my bedroom, I don't know, maybe, and I didn't turn around to find out. I run into the living room and look for the toy ball, and it's not in the toy basket anymore. It's in the dining room on top of the piano. And when I go to turn it off, itsy bitsy spider wasn't even the picture on top of the ball. It also wasn't switched back on. I didn't even stick around to see what was going to happen next. I took tail and ran across the street to my friend's house. I wouldn't even go back in by myself. Had to wait a few hours for someone to get home. That effing ball went missing the next day. I don't believe I wasn't keeping that thing in the house anymore. So yeah, like I say, this is one of the things that would seriously freak me out, like, a lot. But, again, I also think there's reasonable explanations for a lot of these things, and a lot of it is probably just, like, coincidences, bad timing, things being misremembered and hyped up in her head. Yeah, things like doors slamming, lights flickering can be attributed to wind, drafts, dodgy electric, that kind of thing. As for things like hearing the song
Yes,
on the
of
ball
course
when
they
she was
can,
already
but
freaked out, potentially.
all of them lining up perfectly and coinciding with these other incidents.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like a little draft, like, I have a drafty ass house, and there isn't just, like, doors slamming all over the place.
Yeah, I get doors slamming. I get door slamming in my apartment. I got door slamming in my last apartment. That happens a lot. Lights flickering. No, I haven't seen that happen.
That's never happened to me.
Um,
Especially not the perfect timing of the lights flickering right when something else creepy happens.
yeah, I mean, this is like, I'm not seeing how you're determining it to be more reasonable for all of this series of coincidences to line up in this way. Like, I mean,
It seems just as weird.
just as
Either
viable.
way.
Were that
Yeah.
to be the case, it's still the synchronicity transpiring that's presenting this circumstance that seems entirely paranormal, and it is. It's not supernatural. It's a natural occurrence that's transpiring.
But it's not normal.
That's unexplained. And no, Rachel, you cannot just vaguely speculate on what you think it might be and then classify it as having been debunked.
I don't think she ever said debunked. But
She said debunked. She said in her preview for this, she said she was going to be debunking.
okay. Well,
experiences.
just saying, I think maybe it was a bird is not debunking something. Like,
So-
if you have to do
You have to
some
do
legwork.
You have to do some footwork to
Yeah.
debunk things. You gotta kind of get in the trenches there.
I mean, anybody.
And nobody's asking you to.
Oh,
Rachel's a
no,
sweetheart.
whatever.
Rachel's
I'm
a
just
badass at
saying,
what she's doing.
I don't
But
think
again,
that counts as like a scientific experiment
Right,
to just be
yeah.
like, well, maybe it's a
Just-
bird or an earthquake. Like, that's not really debunking anything.
yeah,
like,
just a forewarning where you come to speaking of the relationship between science and what you think of as being paranormal or spiritual. You're stepping into our territory. We're going to check you on it. We're going to be watching you. We're going to check you on this.
I mean,
series.
I'm no expert on paranormal stuff, but
No.
I think it's fascinating.
But
and
there's
not
a
gonna,
lot more to it than
I'm not
just some
gonna
shoddy.
start crossing off options if I don't know. I
Right,
don't
there's a
think.
lot that we have yet to understand. Science
Yeah,
is
I think
explaining
so.
a great deal for us, but it has not come anywhere close
Well,
to
like-
explaining everything.
Earlier when we were talking about the brain shit, like, we actually don't know a
Yeah.
lot about the brain.
We do know, one thing that we do know is that our projective influence, our reflection, our direct observation is affecting and shaping the nature of the reality that we experience. So even the science is subjective. It's like we're making it happen. Again, as I've said, I believe that we are shaping the laws of physics as a collective entity.
Yeah, the double slit experiment
So
shows you right there that things change when you look at them. So I think
Usually
that's
that
probably
could
the
have been
last
some sort
one.
of like mild hallucination from her already being scared, and then like this
Hallucination.
creepy song that she's already
Yeah.
scared.
just to point it out,
You don't just start hallucinating randomly.
yeah, people don't just randomly hallucinate and coinciding with other experiences that they're having. A, B, as I've stated before in other videos, if you are thinking that the concept or the consideration of hallucination is a valid explanation for anything, then you have to go ahead and presume that everything is a hallucination, because it's all transpiring in the brain under the works of the same biological or physiological processes, neurological processes. So if you think that it's even possible for somebody to be hallucinating something, then you have to consider everything to be a potential hallucination. Hallucination is not it's not workable. You have to toss that out. And we're not trying to attack you, Rachel. We're trying to help you out here. We want you to grow as a person.
No, this is a fun Halloween video. I like it.
We like your Halloween videos, bitchin'. We love it.
I'm sorry totally getting on this creepy Reddit thing.
I'm sorry that I look so horrible, but
so cool.
We want you to grow here. We want you to evolve psychologically. You can't just grasp scientism and be like, that explains everything. We haven't come anywhere close to explaining everything. Life is a vast, vast mystery that we know very little about, and we're discovering it as we go along.
Interesting, though.
And so, no, I don't believe there's anything supernatural. Personally, I don't believe that there are ghosts wandering around, but I do know for a fact that there's more to it than some vaguely speculated scientism. Speculation,
some perfectly healthy person hallucinating mildly small things that also coincide with weird music playing and doors slamming all at the same time within like a 5-minute period or whatever. Like, that seems just as crazy as like a ghost walking around fucking slamming doors. So they both kind of seem a little whacked, a little out there situations, and so we could just kind of have to land on the fact that we don't know what the fuck is going on.
And it's honestly,
maybe somebody does. Sam and Dean probably got a hold of that music box.
And
they
fucking burnt it,
salted
and burned
it, and then the spirit was at rest, and it was all good. Never hurt anybody ever again.
But seriously,
that's what I would do. Where's the salt?
To conclude this assessment, it seems, considering the lore that we have in play, where people have thought of these supernatural, these paranormal forces at work for so very long, and people have told you, just like I said with the aliens, I don't understand how you guys can see evidence, eyewitness testimony, fucking cave drawings and shit, etchings and walls.
Oh my god, thousands of people, crop circles,
thousands of years, all of these things that
Air
transpire.
Force generals and people that
high-ranking officials telling you that they've seen these things, and you can just discredit that, just reject it outright. You don't seem to understand that that's the same level of cognitive dissonance as results in religion, with people who see something that doesn't, that contrasts their religious beliefs, and they reject it outright because the cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, or the craziness of like some Jesus guy coming back from the dead. Like, it's all fucking whacked.
Yeah. So it's considering the narrative we have in play, the history and people's, the eyewitness testimony and the considerations we have regarding all these ghost stories and everything in play, it seems a hell of a lot more outrageous and unreasonable to consider it all to be some wacky coincidence.
Equally crazy to me. I think they're equally crazy. It's not way more crazy.
All right, well, we have 2 minutes remaining.
It's an equally crazy thing. Like, it's weird, and it's so cool that we don't know anything about it. It's fun. It's interesting.
Yes.
And someday we're going to fucking find out.
And we would love for you guys to give us a response, everybody watching, most especially Rachel. I'd like to know about your sleep paralysis episode.
Yes, I'm curious about that. And also anybody else that's got like creepy stories or ghost stories.
Give us ghost stories, give us links to things, give us the feedback, and tell us what you got to say. So, that's the video. We're going to have to clip it here. Happy fucking Halloween, belated to everybody.
Wait, let's see what she looks like at the end.
Let me know down in the comments what below. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you guys so much.
Very cool. I dig it. She's got
Kila Salai, Terbi Uni Siari, Namaste. Thank you, Sweetie Cheeks, for doing my makeup.
Blessed Samhain, everybody. Mwah.